From one of Australia's former leading homicide detectives, this is I Catch Killers with Gary Jubelin.
Well, I had a few actual big prison fights inside, and still to this day, when the correctional officers train the rookies, they use two of my fights in prison in the training, just to show you how quick things can escalate within the prison.
Not showing you technique or
just showing you how quick somebody could change and
how explosive it can be.
Yeah.
I Catch Killers with Gary Jubelin.
This is part 2 of my chat with Shannon Althouse, former violent bikie, prisoner and meth addict. In part 2, we talk about his time in prison for attempt murder and his own redemption from outlaw to a person who is making a difference, steering young fellas away from the life he lived. This was a powerful conversation. Have a listen. It might just change your perspective about Shannon. Shannon, welcome back.
No worries, thank you.
We left you at the end of part 1, and you explained the situation in which that you were locked up. You got sentenced for 10 years.
Yeah, 10 and a half, yeah.
10 and a half years. At the start of part 1, we showed that. What year was that? Sorry.
2016.
2016. Okay. At part 1, early in part 1, we showed the assault that you committed when you were in prison. That was pretty early in your sentence, your 10-year stint, wasn't it?
That was in the first 12 months.
And what was the go? What we didn't talk about it when I played the video. What started that?
So when he first came in, I remember 2016, end of 2016, he first came in and was all in Max Block together, and he used to walk laps with us and drink coffees and stuff with us and tell us his gangster life stories and stuff like that, and he'd done time in Yatala and South Australia, and I was thinking, that's a hard prison, it must be alright, must be a bit of a goer, and he was walking laps for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then he ended up getting bail. And then when he got bail, one thing I didn't realise is that he was good friends with the fellow who ran me over and tried killing me.
Right.
So he started going around and spreading rumours that definitely didn't happen, or that's not going to happen, you know what I mean? And then he ended up doing a drug run, and one of his best mates, got done with a heap of weed and gave him up, said, oh, well, look, I'll give my mate up that's doing a drug run, is coming down from Melbourne with some methamphetamine, and just to get me off these charges.
Yeah.
So as he's done that, old mate's come through, got done with the methamphetamine that he had, and then he's gone informant on his drug syndicate boss as well.
Right.
And then that went all over the NT News and stuff like that, and that just struck a nerve, it really upset me.
So that was what was going through your mind, and in the jail world that you're living in, the only way to deal with that is jail justice, and that was jail justice.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way I could see it, especially because everyone in jail, especially all the hard lads, all knew about it. All knew what he was doing, all knew what he was saying about me, and
so it was making you look weak.
Yeah. If I didn't do anything, then definitely 100%. They definitely wouldn't have respected me as much.
So you got another 4 years for that?
Yeah, I got an extra 4 years.
Was that concurrent with your?
Two years were concurrent, and two on the bottom and 2 on the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way you're going then, because that's early in your sentence, you keep up that type of behaviour, you mightn't see the outside of the prison. Yeah.
Well, I had a few actual big prison fights inside, and still to this day, when the correctional officers train the rookies, they use two of my fights in prison in the training, just to show you how quick things can escalate within the prison.
Not showing you technique or
just showing you how quick somebody could change and
how explosive it can be.
Yeah, and just that was the first 18 months, 2 years that I was in jail. It was just things was all trapped in maximum security. Me and a few of the young fellas and all that, and anybody that came in that was obviously either a child sex offender, or any sex offender or an informant or a give up, or any violence against crime against women and children, they got, that's just how it was.
And that was when you talked in part 1 about being on edge the whole time and always being alert and ready to go. Yeah, they're using you as a demonstration of how explosive prison can be.
Yeah, definitely. And like especially maximum security, like a lot of people don't understand every single person in that little sector. Like when you're getting unlocked, everyone's on edge, and everyone's angry, everyone's got something to prove, and there's a lot of people that are just mentally unstable. You know, like if they have a shit phone call with their missus, or
they're going to take it out on someone.
Yeah. Or if you made too much noise too early in the morning, you know what I mean? Like you just kick off. Like I've seen people get half killed for that.
Were you ever on the receiving end?
Nah,
prison?
never, not once. Yeah, thank God.
But that was okay. So I'm getting the sense of it that you carried yourself well in prison in that amongst the inmates.
Yeah.
What was it what was the catalyst that thought, okay, I don't want to be this person. I've got to turn my life around. How did that come about? Because what you're describing there, I can look after myself. Yeah, I'll deal out justice. I don't get got. To me, it's looking like it's just going to be, you're going to come out unrepentant and more dangerous than when you went in. What changed?
Yeah, like it was when, like, because I was a target, obviously, by the officers and stuff like that, and they just didn't want me to progress. They always messed with I was always trying to get on my nerves, trying to get me to strike and do stupid things. You know what I mean? So I was always angry. Like there was every single time, like every day they'd come out max block, and then I was always down the back cell, separate confinement. So 23-hour lockdown. Like they'd let you out for one phone call, 15-minute phone call. That's it, and then you're back in. After doing all that time down there, like I had a mate of mine, because I had no TV, nothing, and I was thinking, fuck. And I hated reading. Like I just absolutely hate it. So I tried reading that many books, the Bible, everything, and that, boom, after a few pages, it's gone, Yeah. And to get on special meals, like, so they got like these good cooks in the prison, and so the prison meals were shit. But if you got on a special meal, you'd be on like meanest, like wickedest diet meal, And everyone's like, oh, you need to get on the special meals, And I was like, how'd you get on that? And they're like, nah, I told them I'm Muslim, so nil processed, nil ham, But they were. They was like, well, I'm not Muslim, I can't say that, So I said, oh, I'm going to tell them I'm Buddhist.
Yep.
So I went and told them I was Buddhist, I filled out a request form and said, oh, look, my religion's Buddhism and stuff like that. And then it worked, So then they approved it. And then they started giving me these, like, mad meals. And then this one young fella, he was mad as, like, just punch on every day with anybody. He thought, he's like, oh, yeah, my brother, you always told me you're Buddhist, Like, here, look, there's a book. Read this, because he reads all the time, And he passed this book on Buddhism through the latch. And I was thinking, yeah, no worries, thank you, my brother. And I put it on the table, And I left it there for about 2 days. But every day he's like, oh, you read that book yet? It's good. And I was like, yeah, you started reading it? Yeah. And I thought, hang on. I said, this bloke's pretty switched on, this young fella, Like, and if he catches me out lying to him, it's going to be on, I said, I better start reading this book in case he starts asking me questions. So I opened it, and I started reading this book, on Buddha, and I never put it down. Like, I read it till I finished it. By the time I got released from prison, I read every single book in Alice Springs Prison Corrections and Darwin on Buddhism, Zen, and mindfulness.
Okay.
But what actually specifically changed my mindset and stuff like that was, one, that assault, two, and I got an extra 4 years and all that, and two, the fact that I was in there for a crime I didn't commit, so I'm losing all those years. Yeah. And then I was thinking, far out, I could get life. Yeah. Like I could lose my life for this crime I didn't even commit. Right. And like, what am I going to achieve? What am I going to get out of this? Absolutely nothing. Except for what I got a gangster on in jail. I said, no, I'm going to start changing my life. Yep. I said, and then I sat there and I was just in my room, just contemplating to myself, thinking about it hard. And I thought, boom, and just a light bulb just switched on. And I said, nah, I'm going to start helping these young lads, because there was a royal commission into the youth justice in Dondale in Darwin.
Yeah, I remember.
So, and all the young fellas, they started turning 18 now and started coming into the maximum security. Yeah. And when they were turning 18 and coming into maximum security, some of them couldn't read or write and anything like that. So I was grabbing their briefs and that and reading it for them and helping them out. And some of the stuff I read, it was pretty disgusting. So I thought, I've got to help these young lads, and I started doing that. So I started sitting there and helping them with their court proceedings and started helping them get through whatever their compensation payouts and you name it, and guiding them as best I can through the system, through the adult system, because I knew it was different to the juvies as well. And then, I just got a real passion for it too, and I thought, I can do this on the outside, because they all started listening to me and, and had a lot of respect for me as well.
Did you find you found that it sort of you got something from that? Like instead of being the tough guy, here you are being the teacher and guiding people and all that. Was that personally you felt like it was something worthwhile?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like from where I was to like the respect I was getting from being the tough guy to the respect I was getting from helping people was just like as a backflip and completely different, complete opposite kind of a respect.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, so then that's when I started just deciding to help them. I thought, nah, and I made a promise to myself. I remember in the back cells, the officers come down and IAT, the Ninja Turtle, and they're like, all right, Althouse, put your hands through the latch. You got a visit. I was like, oh, yep. And then I put my hand through the latch, and then they escorted me to the visit area, and then I was like, oh yeah. And then we dropped one other prisoner off there too from Maxbook, and I was like, what about me? I've got a visit. And like, yeah, your visit's in reception, and that's where the detectives come to visit you, And I was like, oh fuck. So here we go, more charges or something,
Yeah.
So then they've escorted me to reception, and I was like, oh, where are they? And the detectives, and then the IAT's like, no, there's no detectives waiting for you here.
Yeah.
And then he like made a gesture like an aeroplane, And I was thinking, oh, I'm going to Alice Springs, And they're like, yeah. I thought, oh, far out. And then I thought, no, this is going to be hectic, So, because I've never been to Alice. I didn't know anyone in Alice, even though all my family...
This is a prison in Alice.
Yeah. And even though all my family and that, like, majority of my family from Alice Springs. And I thought, nah, this is next level, So then I waited there, and it was a bit overboard, like, how they... I still remember, like, I was freaking out because they had, like, TRG come, police, like, guns. The officers had guns, like
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, like they chucked me in shackles and all this, and they, I only weighed like 80 kilo, and they got me on this airport escort, and they've taken me from Holt's Prison in Darwin to Darwin Airport, and they're floating, and like coppers are blocking the traffic off so we can go straight through the lights, and they're all masked up, and I was like, I thought, oh, there must be like siege or something going on around here, and then the next light comes through, and there's more, and then the next, I was like, hang on. And then when we pulled into the airport, like, they blocked all the roads off, so then the entourage can just, like, police escort and everything. And I was like, is this for me? And the officer's like, yeah. I was like, oh, this is a joke,
Yeah.
And they had a police plane. They chucked me on on the government police plane, flew me down there by myself to Alice Springs,
Right. Why'd they transfer you? What was the...
Oh, they reckon I was a security risk because because of all the fighting and I was punching on with everybody and...
Jesus, mate, you get kicked out of bikie gangs, you get kicked out of prison. Where are we going to find a place for you?
Yeah.
Just, I want to continue on, but I'm just curious. I've never heard someone, learn about Buddhism because they were afraid to get into trouble because they weren't reading a book because they lied about being a Buddhist to get a better meal in prison. That's an out there story.
Oh,
but did you take away stuff from all the reading that you got from the books?
Yeah, well, this is where it gets interesting. So when I got to Alice Springs, what I read in those books, I related to everything.
Okay.
Like how the mind works, how like everything, your emotions, like, like it just tells you, it just gave you examples of how to tap into your mind, all your different feelings, your anger, your anxiety, your depression and all that, and then it comes up with scenarios on how to, like, instead of, when they first happen, instead of like reacting this way, don't react at all. As much as you want to, sit back and wait till you calm down and then make a decision and try going this way. And then when I got to Alice Springs, I was like, in my head, I was like, you know what, when I get here, for my entire sentence, I'm going to get 100% clean record in Alice Springs. I'm not going to do one fight. I'm not going to have one fight. I'm not going to have one misconduct, not one argument. Like, I'm just going to get through this sentence with a clean slate.
Yeah.
And if I can't do that, then I'm definitely, when I get out of prison, there's no way in the world I'll be able to handle it outside of jail,
Okay, so you're testing yourself.
Yeah. So as soon as I landed, I remember, they threw me in Max Block in Alice Springs, and that was day one of testing everything, because I was still a very angry fellow. But then I started putting those practices that I was reading in those books into place when I was put in situations every day in that place. And before you knew it, like 6, 12, 18 months, 2.5 years later, like, I actually trained myself to... Like, you'd feel anxiety, like you'd feel your senses would heighten. Like if there was tension there, you'd get a little bit tense.
Yeah.
But from when I was in Darwin, from when I first came in, it was tense, and then I'll put it on them. Well, what you got a fucking problem, or you're staring at something. You never go. Well, let's go in the room. To looking at it, thinking it's like, oh no, it's just you're just thinking it and feeling it, but it's not. There's nothing in it. Like it's And then it just got to the point where it just didn't even bother me in the end. And even the officers, when they were trying to make my life hard in prison, and I was like, oh well, and I'll just walk off. Where before I'd be really argumentative and try and prove them wrong.
Simple but powerful message, isn't it? Like, and I've heard that before, and I try to check myself on it sometimes. Don't react. Stop, think, and then take your time before you you buy into something.
Yeah.
A simple message, and you, in the life that you've lived, how many times would that saved you if you adopted that earlier?
Oh, every time.
Yeah, like stop, think, what are you going to do? I'm going to,
and like for months I thought, this is bullshit, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. But what I didn't realise, it works. It just every time that you practice it, you get better, just that little bit every single time, and to the point where you'll get to a level where far out. Like I was walking into situations, like I remember one time we had like 40 prisoners rounding up, trying to mob one of my nephews, and my nephew come up to me, and he's like, "Hey, Unks, I think all these fellas are looking at us, because me and my nephew was having a conversation in the dorm, and one of the other prisoners misheard what we were eavesdropping, and thought we put the other ones on the dog, So he's gone out and told the whole block.
So okay.
And then they're like, "Oh, let's get these Darwin dogs, like that's how they were,
Yeah.
And then my nephew came up to me and he's like, "Unks," and I said, "Nah, you're just paranoid, this is how I was, like this is how I built myself, Nah, you're just paranoid." And I was all staring to it. I was like, "Nah." I said, "That's just how they are, And then one of my mates came over. He's like, "Hey, what was you mob talking about in there early on? One of the locals that I'm good friends with." I was like, "No, we were just having a conversation about this, and this." And I was like, "Oh, these mob are saying that you put them on the dogs," and then I was like, "Nah." Anyway, well, tell them to come out here, and then come in the room, And I took them, and we went in the room, and we just had just a normal conversation.
So like, you in that situation, the old you would have gone, "Oh, well, okay, if it's on, it's on. We'll get in first."
The old me, I would have just walked straight up to the first one of them and just punched him straight in the face. It would have been on but this time I was like, "Oh, well, tell them then, let's go in the room, we'll just have a chat," And they all, I reckon there's about 10, 11 of them came in that room, and we said, what's the go, And they're like, "Oh, no, we heard that you mob were putting us on dogs." And I was like, no. I said, "Who told you this?"
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, no." I said, "Who told you this?" They're like, "Oh, that fellow over there." I said, "Tell him to come here." And I said, "What makes you think that me and my nephew here were calling you mob dogs?"
Yeah.
"Oh, no. I said, "You're just a troublemaker." I said, "You mob here." I said, "You shouldn't be listening to him." I said, "He causes dramas in this prison all the time."
Yeah.
I said, "You mob." I said, "I've done years in that with you here in Alice Springs." I said, "You know the situation. You know what I'm like. Like, just come and have a yarn. Come and have a chat."
Yeah.
And I stopped a few mobbings that happened inside of Alice because of that. Yeah.
Wow, it's really powerful the way you're talking about your evolution when you're inside. When did you leave the rebels?
October 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're inside.
Yeah. Pretty much as soon as I went in, I just sat back, had a good long hard think about my life and where I was heading. And to be honest, like not one member come visited me. I didn't get a letter from any of them.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I just thought, why would I want to stick around? Like catches. See you later. And then I was out. So it was that easy.
Off the drugs at this stage, was that another part of it? Did you get off the?
Yeah, I've been clean 9 years now.
Right.
Yeah, so October next year will be 10 years.
And that was part of the whole package of turning your life around.
Yeah, clean and sober.
Yeah. Did when you were in there, being the model prisoner, did you get opportunities to study or do anything in there or reading or?
Nah, I didn't have any of that. But what I see, this is another one where I said, because I told everybody from day one, you watch this, I'm going to get out, I'm going to be doing podcasts, I'm going to be on the news all the time, I'm going to start looking after these kids, I'm going to start, become famous. I was telling him, I said, and I'm not going to be involved in all that gangster stuff or anything like that. I said, you know what, I can see myself doing good, and helping people, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's where my passion is, and that's where I'm going to be walking. As soon as I get out of this jail, you watch the first day I get out of this place, I'm not going to go back to my rehab or whatever like that and sit back and do what everybody else does, Get back into the shit and straight back into jail,
Did you have people trying to drag you down? Because sometimes when someone changes, like that makes them feel bad about themselves. Did you have to fight against that? Or
100%. Like I've had old brothers and old mates and stuff, like even mates that I met in jail that were good in jail.
Yeah.
Try and bring me down. Oh, brother, let's go to the pub. Let's do this. I said, what? I don't drink.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just come. And I said, no, how about you get sober? I said, you want to come? We'll catch up, go to a gym session.
Yeah.
Or I'll take you to lunch. We'll go somewhere and have lunch,
Yeah.
Oh, no, stuff that. And I said, well, why would I want to come to drink? I said, why would I want to come to a pub when I don't drink with you and watch you get drunk, and be a slop,
If you're not drinking, there's nothing more boring than watching people drink, is it?
Oh,
or being with people
hanging all over you and stuff like that, So I just thought, like I've been in plenty of situations and it was hard too. I had to cut a few of my good mates off, because they didn't want to change their lives. They still wanted to continue to do what they're doing. So I had to make a decision and do what was best for myself and my life. And I told them straight, I said, I love you. You always be my brothers no matter what. I said, but until you're willing to change your life, clean your act up, sober up, get off the drugs, and you want to be a father to your children, a family man to your family, I said, I'll help you any day of the week. I said, but until you make that decision, I said, we're on different paths, we're on different journeys. Yeah. I'm going this way, you're going that way. I said, and that's how it's just got to be.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got your dreams and aspirations when you're in there, and you're working towards that within yourself, and changing your outlook and the way you react to things. What plans did you have when you were going to be released from prison?
Basically, in my head, I said straight out, like I'm going to get out, like I'm going to get in contact with all these organisations in Alice Springs, because I knew I was getting parole to Alice. Yeah. That do stuff for troubled kids and troubled youth, or even just anybody, like even troubled adults, you know. And just have a yarn with them, tell them my story, and see if, like I could go in there and have a chat to the people that are in there and have a talk, and maybe help them, or, and do a regular thing and continue on with my training, because I was coaching inside a prison as well. Right. So I was running training programs and training sessions and that, and sometimes we get 30, 40 prisoners, even from warring communities, would come and train with us.
Just physical training.
Yeah. So it was just, I was just like, and the officers seen that and they're like, hang on, this prisoner usually fights with that prisoner all the time. Like they're from different warring families, and then they called me up to them one day and they're like, how'd you get these mob to train together? Like we've never seen it before. They just like the style of training that I do, and they asked if I could come train. If they could come train, I said, you won't, obviously not at the same time. Yeah. I said, yeah. I said, but don't bring you any bullshit. You won't be training with us again,
It's good for the mental health, isn't it? The physical training too. That, self-esteem and everything. Yeah. I don't think I can overstate it, how important it is if 100%. People look after themselves physically. Yeah. So you had that sort of in your back pocket, training and all that. So you get released from prison. Just tell us what it felt like, first of all, being released, and then what you did. Yeah,
well, to be honest, it was the scariest feeling I've ever had in my life. Like it was probably just as like bad and it's good, but I had that much anxiety and that much, I was still that afraid of being released. It's just as much as I was getting locked up.
Afraid of yourself? Afraid of what? Yeah,
just afraid of I don't know, could be anything, or even, like I said, more coppers out there waiting for me and locking me back up again, throwing me back in, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So you didn't know where you were going, you didn't know who was going to help, you didn't know the path that you didn't know how easy, but you knew it was going to be hard too, so can I do it, so and so it's, and even all your old associates and your mates, you're like, far out, what if they ask me, I don't want to be rude, because some of them that take offence to you saying, no, I'm not going to catch up with you, and before you know it, they could be...
I've heard people get dragged back into it because a mate that they owe has called in a favour and they've got caught up in the shit again.
Yeah, and that happens quite often, and I just thought, all right, what if I get put in a situation or anything like that, but... And I didn't know, I thought I was strong, I knew it, but I didn't know if I hadn't been challenged like that yet since I've been released. So I thought, well, if it happens, this could really mess me up, you know what I mean? Okay. Even me just saying, nah, stuff that,
So you went out there with a little bit of trepidation and going, had the world changed?
Yeah, it was pretty mad. Even down, McDonald's was self-serve. I was used to walking up to a counter and paying, I was and I'm standing around what? What's everybody doing?
The change was confusing enough being on the outside why it was changing, so I can only imagine.
No, that's right. And you know what, to be honest, when when I got out, I just got thrown out on the street, no help, nothing like that. You know, like help from the people that I asked for help, but like they could only help me in what they were employed to help me with, like what their job role was, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, I had to pretty much just figure it all out for myself, and and just work hard, and especially being a pro, like doing the 7 years, and just being, oh, yep, see you later. You got parole, boom.
Yeah, it's almost set up to fail, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I actually see why a lot of people do fail.
Yeah.
After that, like, just luckily that my mindset was that set on my path of where a journey that I wanted to go, is that I knew that I could not fail.
Yeah.
I knew straight out. I was like, yeah, no.
No, I can see the commitment in your face that, okay, this is a path I'm going.
When I got out, I went to a rehab there, DASA, Arundel House. I already had a job lined up, so I outsourced employment while I was still in jail. Yeah. I got a mate who was friends with one of the builders there, his own company, and he's like, yep, no, tell him to come see me, you know. I done everything like that, man. I like took for months before I got parole, like, and outsourced everything, got it all sorted, went to rehab. And then as soon as I did that, I went into the gym, signed up to the gym, went straight into a boxing academy there, and just asked him, hit him up, you know, like, oh, you know, like, I just want to know if I can do some training, and, you know, if you need any volunteers, you know, like, I'll be keen to volunteer and help you out any way I can, you know. And they're like, yeah, no worries, we'll see, come down tomorrow and we'll see what.
And what gym was that?
Arundel Community Boxing Academy. Yeah. Okay.
And how'd that play out?
Yeah. Well, you know, I went back, and they've heard, like, the head coach there, he's heard it from a lot of parolees too. Yeah. Plenty of times, you know. And they've just stuffed up rocked up one session and never come back, you know. Yeah. But I rocked up, and then the next night I rocked up, and then the next night, 7 days a week I was rocking up, and then I started running the 6 a.m. class there. Yeah. And so I was getting up from rehab, driving to there, running the 6 a.m. class, driving to work, working from 7 till 4, driving back to boxing, opening it up, and then getting, when all the young lads and all that would come, you know, made sure it was clean and that, and they'd warm up, do some pad work and stuff like that in the bag, and then as soon as 5:30 kick off, we'd all train together, you know. If I wasn't running a session, I was training with them, you know. Yeah.
And what messaging were you giving the young fellas?
You know, just like stay on the straight and narrow. You know, don't get hooked on these drugs and that sort of lifestyle, thinking that this is gangster, that's gangster. You know what I mean? Like, what you're doing now that's what you want to be doing. Yeah, going to boxing every day. You know what I mean? Going to school, straight after school, they're riding their push bikes, doing boxing. Yeah, you know, and then straight after that, they're going. Like, some of them even had jobs. You know, so they was, you know, in school, working and boxing full time, you know.
People don't understand it, and, you know, I know I get some pushback because I'm always talking boxing on this, because boxing, on the podcast, boxing's my thing, but you give kids discipline like that, and then in boxing you see not more than anything, but you see reward for effort. You don't get good unless you put the effort in. Yeah. And I think that's what it points people in the right direction. You get rewarded if you put effort in. So what you're telling me there, like, there's a lot of, we hear down here in Sydney about the problems of youth crime in the Northern Territory and Queensland. There's problems down here as well, obviously. But, it's giving them some purpose, giving them some self-esteem, and, Are you seeing the changes in the kids that you're working with? I
definitely see changes in them when I'm around. Yeah. So I've seen these same kids, like the ones you're seeing all over the news, hanging out of stolen cars with machetes and doing burnouts on the lawns, and they're chasing the cop cars. Yeah. It's not
I know.
The police aren't chasing them. They're actually turning around, and these are 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids.
I think that was shown across the world. Like, people going, what the hell?
They're actually, and the cop, I remember one day I seen this cop car flow straight past me, and then this car full of kids chasing them, and they drove to the police station, had the compound gates open, drove into the compound gates and got it closed so the kids couldn't drive through there and ram them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but those same kids, when they see me, they come up and give me hugs and knuckles and, hey, mister, can you shout us a feed? You know? Because the first day I got out, I still remember this to today. I remember hearing about these street kids and this and that. And I got out, I had nothing. Like, you know, when I went to jail, you know, I thought the brothers that I did time for, whatever, like, they would back me up and throw money in my account. Or when I got out, I just done, you know, like, I just done this stint here, I just done 7 years for them. And I didn't get out with nothing, you know what I mean? Not even, they didn't even have anything waiting for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I got out, I was just built what I have today by myself, you know, just off my own back.
Yeah.
And I still remember I drove down to Macca's here in Alice Springs, and I seen about 10 to 15 kids on push bikes there, standing at the front of Macca's.
Yeah.
And instantly I thought, oh, well, they're at the front of a food, you know, they're just hungry, you know.
Yeah.
So I went through the drive-through and I pulled up, and I could see these people walking in, but like anybody that gave them kind of grief or like daggers or whatever like that, they'll try and intimidate them, you know. And then they were sitting there and they looked over at me, and I was like, "Oi, what are you young fellas doing?" They're like, "Oh, mister, cool face, that's, yeah." I was like, yeah, no worries. Are you hungry? And they're like, yeah, we're just waiting for family, you know, like in case our family drive through, we're going to ask them to buy us a feed. And I said, I'll buy you a feed, but you've got to, you know, you leave after here. I said, these mob good people, because I knew the manager, and I'll go there all the time, you know. The manager, and he's like, you know, they were good people, you know. I was like, and he's like, yeah, all right then. So I went and shouted them all a feed, you know. Yeah. And then as I was about to jump in the car and leave, they're like, oh, can you come down to the petrol station and buy us something? I was like, oh, all right then. So I drove in the petrol station, and when I walked in, all they wanted was toys, you know. Yeah. So they're pulling toys off the rack, and funny enough, it was like a cap gun, like a police badge and thing. You know, it was one of those toys, you know. And I was thinking, oh no. And then I paid for it all, you know. They all took off. Yeah. I bought them a few Kinder Surprises and that too, and ever since then, they've always respected me, you know. Yeah. They always, every time they see me, hello, mister, and give me knuckles, and they're all these same kids. And I asked them, I bumped into them about a couple of weeks later, and I said, hey, what, that Kinder Surprise that you know, I got you, what'd you do with that toy? And a couple of them were like, no, mister, we gave it to our sister, you know. I was like, oh, yeah, that's solid, you know.
Okay, well, that's, Jesus, like, making a difference, little acts like that. Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they respect you. And maybe it was meant to be with all the tattoos over your face and all that, because I think the kids will look at that. You've got their attention to start with. Yeah. And if you're steering them in a good direction. But, yeah, well, youth crime up there, what do you think the way it could be fixed? And it's a big question that a lot of people have been thinking about, but where do you reckon the core of the problem is? Yeah, look, to be honest, I honestly wouldn't have it. I reckon the core of the problem is just with the adults that they're surrounding them with, you know what I mean? Like, for a private sale of alcohol in a community is like $200, anywhere between, could be $200, $250 for a bottle of Jim Beam, you know what I mean? 700 ml bottle, you know? Yeah. So instead of the kids and all that getting fed with that money, the adults, their parents and that are going and buying, you know, like bottles and stuff like that and spending the food money on that. And the kids have got to go in the street and fend for themselves and you know, fight for themselves to get a feed and stuff like that. And some of them, they go back to jail or juvies because they get fed in that in there, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. It's a sad cycle, isn't it? Yeah. How do you reckon you can make a difference? What are the other stuff you've been doing? Like the boxing, that was what you got into initially. How long have you been out for now? I've been out for nearly 2.5 years. Yeah. So January 2023 I got out. Yeah. And, okay, what other stuff are you doing? Yeah, so basically all I do is, I've been invited to a few forums and conferences and stuff like that for the youth, a few programs that I've got coming up, and ones that I'm paying for out of my own pocket too, you know, like it's, so I don't get any funding or anything like that. Like this next one in September, you know, like it's, you know, I had a few young lads and that asked me if I could go up to a community just out of Catherine and teach them how, one, I stayed sober for 9 years, two, how I've left the club, the gang life, three, how I'm still doing what I'm doing today and how I got to do what I'm doing today. And they want me, and with all the prison and all that I've done, you know, like they just want me to teach them that and then run them through a training session in the afternoon and the night. So, you know, like I said, yeah, no worries. And, you know, like it started off just me and a couple of the young lads, you know, and then like now it's blowing out. Like I've got some really good people like Wildman, like Damo Duffy from Wildman Adventures. He's flat, he's coming out. You know, I've got an Indigenous comedian from WA, you know, Shano, Uncle Shano. Yep. He's agreed to come along too, you know, and a couple other big names that are going to pop up, and then we're going to go out there and just run this like little program and stuff like that. And it's not even a program, like it's just me going there, talking to them, and then like they're going to teach us. I said, well, how about you? Because I looked at all their photos on Instagram and I seen it. All their hunting photos, they're all rangers and that out there. Yeah. I said, well, how about you take us out in your land? We'll go out camping for 2-3 days and you teach us about the land, culture and stuff like that. We'll take us fishing, hunting. Yeah.
I said, and when the Arvo comes, I said, we'll all get painted up. We'll go find a nice spot in the floodplains, get all the boxing gloves and that out. And I said, I've got my nephew up and down, does a bit of boxing up there.
Mm.
I said, we'll run you through like half an hour, 45-minute session every night, like we're out there, and then we'll go to sit down the fire while the food's getting cooked, and we'll have a yarn, and I'll teach you how I taught myself to be doing the stuff that I'm doing today, and about self-control and just living a much better life, than living a drama-free life. It's so much more enjoyable. That's for sure.
I can see I can see the joy on your face talking about it. You light up talking about making a difference like that. And what you just described, I'm just picturing that. That seems so cool.
Yeah,
and it's them feeling a sense of worth, taking you out on their land and showing you their ways, and then you giving back a little bit like that. It's well, it's a ripple effect too, isn't it? You're not gonna change the world, but doing one thing, if you can change one life. Imagine if someone got hold of you early in your life and steered you in the direction, gave you a wake up call before you'd done your 10 years and different things.
No, that's 100%. And like I know because it's difficult too. Like like trying to get to these kids. Like I've gone to a couple of these programs and stuff like that too, and they're just not interacting. They just don't want to be there and things like that. I did visits to Saltbush. Saltbush is like a pre-release kind of pre-prison for kids too. Yeah. So I used to run every Friday. I'd run a boxing program with them. Yeah. Just run them through fitness sessions and that like every Friday. For nearly 2 years. Yeah. And So the way I get to it really is, or get messages to everyone there, plus especially them is TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and it's just absolutely gone viral. A couple of videos over that, and because I know that's bang. As soon as I see Blake here, all face tatted up, ankle monitor and stuff, bang, instantly interested in what I've got to say, and they'll start watching. The amount of messages and inboxes I get from them wanting help and support, like and from fellas in jail that have gotten out and say from Perth, like I'm talking Casuarina, Hakea, Yatala, people just flat out like I don't even know. I'm just, hi brother, like my brother's, I just got out of lockup in Casuarina, and your name's getting thrown around prison there, like from all the Noongar lads, all the Indigenous lads. Yeah. They all watch your reels and they all you're getting spoken about, and they want to do what you're doing,
That's cool. Tell us how people can find it. Where can they find it on social media? People listening to this.
Yeah. It's just my name. Shannon Althouse. So, just Google that and we'll type that into the search box, and they'll find it all. And and because obviously finding it difficult to get ochre cards and that, you know what I mean. But because they reckon the crime that I got done charged with, it was a violent offence, and because I haven't been out of prison long enough. So the best way but these kids they're over TikTok and all that most of the time anyway, so you get more of a message to them through that kind of stuff than what you would.
Okay, so you're having difficulty with the establishment to work with kids because this is a different way of reaching out to them.
Yeah. So, and it's just not just the kids too, like it's anyone, you know what I mean. Like I've seen the struggles of kids and adults, and I was one of those adults. Yeah. So and then I came out of it and absolutely smashing it and loving it now, you know what I mean? So, and I know when I was in jail, there was a lot of my mates and a lot that wanted the same journey that I'm doing now, but they just keep getting trapped in that cycle.
Yeah, and it's not rocket science to understand this, but kids won't listen to someone that hasn't walked that path. No. Like if Straighty 180 goes in there and tells these kids, oh, look, you shouldn't be doing this, they'll laugh and run away. You go in there and your life's experiences. What about in mental health with men and mental health? You say you're trying to help adults. What's your message to adults, not the kids, that find themselves there thinking they can never turn their life around?
Yeah, well, it's just simple, like follow my journey. Have a look at mine, and Jeffrey Morgan's. Yeah. Like, it's all logged, it's all recorded. Like you just Google my name and it just comes up with article after article from my past. Yeah. When I was, when I was a bit of a run amok to, to the good articles that I've been doing in the last couple of years. Yeah. So, and like, if I could do it, there's absolutely no excuse for anybody out there whatsoever to say that they can't. You know what I mean? Like because the life that I had, even through the attempted murders on myself, you know what I mean? And then, and then going to jail for all those years for that crime that I didn't commit, like that'd break, some of the strongest blokes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was that, you'll end up dead or in prison, and you came close to both, didn't you? Where are you, family? You're still in contact with family, and you in a relationship, or how's life going for you generally?
No, so I'm definitely still in contact with my family in Darwin and stuff like that. And no, I got a missus, a beautiful lady. She's I was just on the Gold Coast with her then. Yeah. So, she's from the Goldie, but she lived in Alice for about 13 years now. Yeah. So but so she's definitely one of a kind, the love of my life. So
she's enjoying the journey that you're going on.
Yeah, she's the opposite. She likes to be like trapped up, and she's not a people's people. You know what I mean? So she's like real reserved, and trying to hide everywhere.
And introvert, and you're out there on social media.
Yeah, and I'm out there just blowing up. So. Nah, but she, she's always supportive. She always send me some mad messages and stuff like that of support, and loves the fact that the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, she's attracted to that too. So.
I think anyone would look at this and go, that's cool. Trying to make a difference, and it's balancing the ledger, isn't it?
Yeah.
The stuff that you've done, and now this is what you're doing, and I'm a big believer in it. But no one wins if we just keep blokes like you down. What joy is that?
That's exactly right. And and I've even caught up with deputy superintendents and that of the NT corrections. Even wrote a letter to the commissioner and all that, and said, look, put all the bullshit aside. Yeah. I was an ex-gang member, I was an ex-prisoner and all that, but that shouldn't put a boundary or a barrier between you and I in order for me to come in there and have you answer these fellas and try to get them to behave and go on the right track, And they just don't want a bar of it. They're like, nah.
I think there's examples here in New South Wales where they're becoming more open-minded about that and seeing the benefits of people going in and passing on messages like that, people that have walked the path, because it does make a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely does, and I spent $13,000 and to film this. It's only a little short doco about my life before, like when I went to jail. So it's got little clips and stuff like that before I went to jail to what I'm doing today,
Where will people find that?
On Instagram, TikTok, So
has it got a title or just with your name?
Yeah, or you'll see like just a video there, but you'll see like little news articles scattered around it too. Yeah. So like from when I was like Shannon Althouse, mentoring youth in Alice Springs and stuff like that. Yeah. So you see these little articles that pop up around it, and then if you just click onto it, it'll just start playing, and it starts off with like the Channel 9 news report when they were talking about me going to jail, So
I obviously do my research before I have a guest on, and Jeff vouched for you 100%, and I chatted with you, and I liked the conversation we had, and I looked online. You got the good and the bad. There's that yin and yang thing you got happening. Yeah. Post and your violent past, the things that you did. Have you got any regret or remorse about things that happened in the past?
Yeah, I've definitely had some regrets and remorse. I remember one time actually, just before I got ran over. I think it was 2016, early 2016. And this is when I was still a little bit violent, but I remember there was one young fellow, like he's the same age as me, but when we were younger, I punched him around, and I still remember this day that I walked into a nightclub and I seen him there, and he got like frightened, and he was all right, like just somebody convinced me to punch him around, and just being an idiot, and I did it, and just being a follower. That was back in the day, and I went straight up to him and apologised to him. I remember that, and so. And, that's, like I said, I've made peace with my enemies, and stuff like that. And, I'll be quite happy even to jump on a podcast and with them and, shake their hand in front of everyone and just show, show that peace you can make peace with your past and yourself, no matter what the situation is, no matter what your enemy done to you, you can do it, and that's where my head is right now. My head is at that stage right now where I could literally go to the fellow who tried killing me, right now, and if me and him could be sitting in here, and I'd show nothing but love and shake his hand and say, look, I've forgiven you. It's simple as that. Like, you know, like I hope, you know, nothing but the best things for you in life.
Yeah, it's empowering, isn't it? Like I got people that I hate with a passion, but if I let that hate go, all of a sudden, problem's gone.
Yeah.
Like it is powerful to forgive. And I know we're talking deep here, but yeah, there's people that I'd love to smack their heads in. But then I think, no, I'll just let it go. I won't let it worry me. I forgive them. As you said, get on with their life. They're just trying to live their life. I'll live my life. Yeah. And it takes a lot of pressure away from you. Yeah,
definitely. And they're just on a different journey, like, and their mindset, like I said, their education levels or their mindset is just not as equipped as yours.
Yeah.
And
well, you're a classic example. I'm probably M2. You evolve, you learn.
Yeah.
You make your mistakes and you learn.
You see reason, and you see reason not to do. You know what I mean? And you look at it like, why? But why would you? Like, what are you going to achieve out of this?
Yeah.
Like, where are you heading if you do that? Yeah. There's only one place you go. There's two things you're going to go to. Probably more than likely, it's jail and with enemies now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's right. And at the end of the day, do you feel good about it? You're not going to feel good about it. You've taken a piece out of yourself. So I can't believe how much you learnt just because you lied about being eating.
You lied about being a Buddhist.
Buddhist to get a better meal.
To get a better meal. Right.
Maybe that's the way.
Maybe
maybe that was the way that you were meant to learn. It's a classic.
Yeah, no, that's right. You know, and now actually everything that pops up on my Instagram that's got anything to do with Buddhism or mindfulness or Zen or anything, boom, I'm straight onto it. I'm like,
okay. Where do you hope your life will be in 10 years' time?
It's funny, like I just really, really do like hope that I can still just continue on doing this journey, but have like people. I'm in the process now of flying to Perth. I just came back from the Gold Coast. I got an invite to Melbourne. I got an invite to South Australia to be on a national board for this what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to build like it's a group of us. You know what I mean? Like we all can share our views and stuff like that together. And there's a few. Not all of them are, just good people, like grew up in wealthy homes and stuff like that. So just to continue doing that, getting the word out, getting a heap of people follow me, and then when I go out, start a campaign through the NT and get these kids from the streets into parks, training, getting their fitness up, getting their education back up, get them some sort of sense of life and living and to move them so then, because they're going to be running the country one day, you know what I mean? So like we don't want these kids and all that messing up, like, because they're getting more and more and more and more every single year, like thousands and thousands and thousands, just getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, the incarceration rate in Northern Territory for Indigenous kids is
it's unreal,
yeah. It's a shocker. I've seen the benefits down here around Redfern with stuff that Shane Phillips and his mob do with Tribal Warrior and Clean Slate Without Prejudice, and it just it blows my mind. And I hope, and I understand the resistance from government organisations and that go, well, look at his past and all that, but I hope they can see past that. Like, you're a classic case of don't judge a book by its cover.
And 100%. And you know what's funny too? Like, it's not really funny about that. I've had a couple of organisations. When I got out, I reached out to them and asked them if if I could do something. They could, nah. Now that I've blown up, they've gotten in contact with me and asking if I could do something.
Well,
and I was straight away. I was like, nah. I was like, if you want me to come do that, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you should have let me come. Like.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think I can't give business advice. I'm not qualified for that by any means. But the stuff that you're doing costs money, and you've got to earn a living as well. So
that's it. And you know what? Still to this day, everything I've done is voluntary. Like this trip that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like, it's cost me tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
The trip in September is costing me tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
The docker I spent out of my own money, that cost me $13,000. Yeah. Like, I've not ever got any funding or anything whatsoever for everything I've done.
Yeah.
Everything's been voluntary. I pay for my own fuel, I pay for my own travel, my own accommodation, like, for the last 2.5 years. You know, it's just... And it just puts me... Just luckily enough that the bloke who gave me an awesome job...
Yeah.
When I got released from jail and gave me a promotion, and he's getting another promotion, he's paying enough money... that I can just sit back and I can work for, you know, like a couple of months, and then that can pay for these trips.
Yeah. Well, full credit to you. Do you look back and think, okay, I didn't get off to the best start, but are you happy with the way your life's turned out now?
Yeah, 100%. Like, definitely didn't get off to a best start, but the journey that I'm heading now and where I'm at today, I'm just blown away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the people that I'm surrounding myself with, the people that are getting in contact with me, and that's why it just goes to show. You know, like that's why I try to tell people, like, just follow my journey. Like, you don't need other people to help you. Like like as in for money wise, whatever like that. Like, you just got to know inside that your own mind, your own willpower, that you can be successful. You can get out there. You can work hard, and you can educate yourself every single day and better your education in order to head down that direction. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to get life coaches and stuff like that, you know, like that's one reason why I used to watch reels and that all the time, like, or read books on that. Now I watch reels and that on Instagram, whatever like that, and signed up with Jeffrey's online coaching program too, because, you know, it helps that much in order to take me that next step further. Like, and a lot of people just don't realise that. But back in the day, I would have been like, oh, that's all bullshit. Yeah. That's all bullshit. But it wasn't until something traumatic happened to me, like the near-death experience and then near-life experience in prison, that woke me up and snapped me out of it, and actually giving it a good shot, like not just picking the book up and reading a few pages and it's not doing nothing, or somebody giving you a bit of advice and then you practicing it for a week or two or a month or two, and then it's not working. Like these things take months and months and months, not just weeks or a couple of months here.
It's
and there.
not a quick fix, is it?
No, it's like months, if not a couple of years. You know, like years before you even start to see something. Like, you might not see it in the first 6 to 12 months, but others do. You know what I mean? And then before you know it, like, far out, you're doing things that I'm doing now, you know. And
well, look and people wanting to hear your message. I think that's interesting too.
Yeah, like, definitely.
The moment I heard about it, I said, shit, we want him on and get him on the podcast. But that's the way you got to spread the message, and you might inspire other people. And you're getting the respect doing something that's worthwhile too. You used to get the respect as a tough guy, and but there you look at that and go, this is better, isn't it? Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's way more enjoyable. You know, like, you know, just to go out there, get out, have a feed, go catch up with all these, you know, like all these young lads and stuff like that, and go out and do some training sessions and that with them. Have a yarn to them and a chat, and tell them what, you know, like, where their life would be heading if they go down that direction. Like, you know, like it's not this, and not to glorify that kind of stuff, because they might think, you know, like, oh yeah, you know, like sex, drugs and money and stuff like that, you know, like that's the high life or whatever. But that's just the tiniest bit of part of what actually happens, you know. Yeah, it's more, you know, assaulting or debt collecting, or, you know, like stuff that life-threatening stuff that could end your life, or whether it's, you know, like 6 foot under or in jail. Yeah. Well, you know, we've heard quite a few redemption stories on icatchkillers, but Shannon, full credit to you, mate. Like, you should be proud of what you're doing. And thanks for being so open and honest, and talking about what you've been through and your journey. But I wish you all the best.
No worries, appreciate that.
Yeah, good stuff. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, no worries, thank you.
It's been great having a yarn with you.
Yeah.